what got me into genealogy was my paternal grandmother. No, here's our story. I didn't drive, and neither did she. I didn't get. She always. This is one of the things I loved about my paternal grandmother. Her name was Elsie Copen Flynn. Her married name was Flynn. Let's start with there. She always encouraged me to get my driver's license because she never got hers, and she regretted it. So she told me the story about her father-in-law, Silas Flynn, that was born in Parkersburg, where I'm from. I was born and raised there myself. So she told me about the story of his murder. I'm not going to go into detail. That's going to be some videos I'm going to make of it. And I've got some information that that I have found when I first started doing my research. And that's what got me interested. My dad was into genealogy too. He worked on the Copen side. And he worked on some on the Flynns. And he taught me. We would go, basically we just stayed at the public library in Parkersburg, West Virginia. They had a great genealogy room. And that's where I did a lot of my research. They had a lot of resources on the surrounding counties where my family come from. Now, my family comes from, my maternal side comes from, my maternal grandmother's family is a Petty, and she comes from Ritchie County. And my Bennett's was my maternal grandfather, and he comes from Calhoun County. And they're buried up in Ritchie County together. And my dad's side, his mother was a Copen, so her side of the family was from Wirt County, and the Flynn side of the family was from Wood County, Parkersburg. And that's what got me into genealogy. Like I said, my dad taught me. We would look at census books, different, they'd have books like, and that's where I learned how to do, and I found articles about what happened to my great-grandfather, Silas Flynn. And that's what got me, like I said, got me into it. Where I grew up in Wirt County, it's about 45 minutes away. You got different routes you can go. Now, my grandmother's gone. My dad died first. They're buried at the family cemetery where my great-grandparents that raised my dad, the Copens, they're all buried at Bethel Cemetery on the outskirts of Elizabeth. And it's just a small little cemetery. It has like my great aunt, my grandmother, people like that. Now, my Flynn family, and that's another long story. We were never close to the Flynn family. Now we were close to my great aunt, and she took care of my great grandmother, who was Silas's wife. And that's another story. I mean, she died when I was like 6 years old. I was 6.5. I was just 6. Right after my dad got sick the first time. So I was 6 years old, but I remember her. And her name was Granny Flynn. That's all I remember her being at my great aunt's house when we would go there a little bit. No, we had nothing to do with her son, which was my grandfather. He was just never around. He was not a father. But that's what got me into genealogy. I started working on the Bennetts. And you're going to hit a brick wall. I hit that brick wall. You hit brick walls. It took me years to get through that brick wall in genealogy. But I finally broke through. I found some information. I added it on Family Search. I don't like Family Search that well because it's the stuff that's happened. And I will also say you're going to have people that will, if you look at old message boards, people got snippy with each other. I had some situations, and one day I'll make a video about that. But my main is West Virginia, but I moved to South Carolina. But the Bennetts are from South Carolina. I have found not looked at their records because that's just the way I work and everything. So my goal is to start making videos about genealogy and helping people start theirs. It's basically easy. There's different ways you can get information. Like if you don't live in that state, if you look at different things, you can figure it out. It's just Roots Web is one of the things I use. I use Find a Grave. It's not one of my favorites, but I've used Find a Grave and found tons of information. Sometimes people share stuff about the family, and you find stuff out. I do Roots Web on the West Virginia one. Calhoun County has one of the best websites, I believe, and I've used it for years. And that's one of my top. And then you go back to old message boards. You can learn, put in like where your family's from, put in their names, and see if messages, old people looking for those records come up. And that might help you. But like I said, I was born and raised in Parkersburg, West Virginia, the Mid-Ohio Valley. But my family comes from Pettyville. My maternal grandmother was a Petty. Now her mother was a Morris. So sometimes it does. I don't always focus on the next generation. Sometimes I do, but my main focus is on like just learning where my family came from. Learning that my last name is Irish. It gives it away, Flynn. But when you do genealogy research, you're going to find out that they spell it different. There's different ways of spelling. When they came to America, they Americanized it and changed it to different spellings. There's different ways to spell Flynn. There's different ways. It's Gaelic in Ireland. And so there's little things like that. Like in the newspaper clipping that I have about the murder of my great-grandfather, Silas Flynn, in my hometown, they have it as Cyrus Flynn, but they had the Flynn spelled F-Y-N-N, and our name is spelled F-L-I-N-N. So I find it interesting of learning what my family had to do with history. Like the Copans, they had to do with the Civil War, and they fought as Union soldiers. And I have proof that they fought as Union soldiers back in my hometown of Parkersburg, West Virginia. Well, no, they were from Warwick County, Elizabeth. My family grew up at Starvation Point. If you know anything about Starvation Point, it literally means that. My dad was very poor, no water, no electric, had to use an outhouse. He lived in a shack. He was raised by his grandparents. He called them mom and dad. And little things like that. That's what me and my dad would go to the library, not all the time, and we'd go to the cemeteries. Like we found that Union soldier that I was talking about. It has Corporal on his grave side, and he fought in the Bloody Seven, and he was in different regiments. I can't remember correctly, but his name was George Washington Copen. His ancestors helped build the church George Washington went to, and his family. He did the calligraphy on that. His name was William Copen. And my dad died, so I've carried on doing research and finding out what I can find about the Copen family. Like I said, I work on the Flynn, the Bennetts, the Pettys, the Kirbys. Those would be my great-grandparents, Elizabeth Kirby. Now, my sister doesn't find history interesting or genealogy, but I like it. I did my DNA. I have where my brick wall on the Bennetts. That it was one way how my family, I found out where they came from. So my DNA is the one that proved me to be correct on my information on the Bennett side. And I find that one really interesting. And we'll make videos about me hitting the brick wall, how long it took me, how I confirmed it. Let's have fun.